Guys, what's going on? This is RJ Game News USA here, back today with another game review. Today, we're going to talk about Fatal Fury, the City of Wolves, from the PlayStation 5, and we're going to be looking at the Metacritic score. So if you like this kind of content, please support by liking the video or sharing the content. And please subscribe if you haven't already, and comment below if you want to engage in this topic. So, Fatal Fury City of Wolves has an 80 overall on Metacritic. It's looking like 18 positive reviews and 4 mixed. So let's get into the specifics. The high score was a 90 by Jux Act 2. That said, the grand return of Fatal Fury, which had disappeared from the radar 26 years ago, and for which Neo Geo fans have been completely desperately waiting, was made through the front door. This time, the game is not just for them, but also mainstream players. This definitely sounds like a fan who has been dying for a quarter century to get a hold of Fatal Fury. And I gotta say, the game looks fun. It looks like a fun fighting game. It really does. V-Games, also with a 90, says Fatal Fury City of the Wolves is the needed return of one of the most beloved IPs in the fighting game genre. Together with revamped gameplay elements and updated designs, with those, the netcode is not perfect, and I hope it gets addressed. Yeah, if the netcode's not perfect, I have a hard time giving that a 90. PSX Brazil gave it an 85, saying it masterfully revives a classic SNK series. The gameplay is varied and fun for both casual and hardcore audiences. The single-player content is very good with different modes. The game's only flaws are its unnecessarily confusing interface. Bad interface tanks a game for me a lot. Like I said though, game looks fun. Game looks fun. Noisy Pixel with an 85 says it's a triumphant return for SNK's legendary series, blending classic 2D fighting mechanics with bold new systems and a striking urban aesthetic with a balanced roster and refined combat depth. Yeah, that makes me want to play it, honestly. Hobby Consolas with an 85 says it may not be the most innovative or spectacular game on the scene today, but it certainly has a clear vision of what it wants to present, and it delivers solidly. If you're looking for classic fights with slightly modern twist, this is your game. So, I gotta say, yes, so often games want to just steal all your time. They want to consume all your time because they want your money, they want your microtransactions, they want your attention. Or they want to be like super long games that justify a $70 price tag with lots of padded out side quests that keep the player engaged. I like a game that has such a simplified mission statement. And so this review here by Hobby Consolas is so true. To have a game that had a clear and present vision. Look, we're going to be a colorful looking 2D fighting game that people that used to love Fatal Fury will love again, and newcomers like. Love it. Not every game has to be a masterpiece. Or attempt to be. Games.ch with an 83. SNK's legendary fighting game series celebrates a highly successful comeback with Fatal Fury, City of Wolves. A complex combat system, unique characters, and action that simply feels great are the main reasons why. Now, I mean, when you think about the all-time great fighting games, or series, I should say, immediately, if you're going to count Smash Bros. In there, like I do, there's Smash, there's Street Fighter, there's Mortal Kombat, but then there's lots of other, the next step down, which is like Soul Calibur and Tekken and stuff like that. But this is almost like Fatal Fury was almost C tier to these franchises, and it's been gone for so long. To see it come back, it's nice, man. It's like when I saw Killer Instinct come back. I know everybody shit on that game, but I liked it. Hey Poor Player with an 80 says, I don't want to focus too much on the negative. This game is a deep and satisfying fighting game with a ton going for it. I never thought I'd see another Fatal Fury game, and while it hasn't surpassed Mark of the Wolves in my heart, it certainly comes close. Yeah, this is a sequel to the Mark of the Wolves game 26 years ago. Create a Block with an 80. After a long time away, Fatal Fury City of Wolves shows the series is still fighting fit. While its package isn't without some blemishes, this is no throwback, but it takes its rightful place in the modern era of excellent fighting games. Rightful place, I would say yes. I think an 80 overall on Metacritic sounds about right. A lot of games, I think 80 is the mark. If you are an 80 or better on Metacritic, you feel fine with the score. If you are below an 80, you feel a little something about that. You feel a way about that. There's a ton of 80s here. Game Pressure says, it's a very good representative of the genre, but I feel after a maximum of a few months, I will put it aside. And you know what? That's okay. It's okay that people don't just play the same game over and 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 over again. To have a fighting game in your library that, hey, you enjoyed it for a few weeks, you park it away, and maybe friends come over or something, and you pull it out and you have fun again, is okay. Not every game has to be Fortnite. I'm tired of Fortnite. But why, though, with an 80, says, despite some hiccups on the presentation side, Fatal Fury City of the Wolves delivers in all the ways that matter most. Yeah, maybe we do focus a little too much on presentation. Maybe we need games to feel gamey again. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean by that? Shaq News with an 80. I've been waiting most of my life for much of what this game brings to the table. It's a solid feeling fighting game in one of my favorite series with good offensive and defensive options. It's true. Critical Hits with an 80 says Fatal Fury the City of the Wolves gets the basics right and is a fun game, but that's not enough to live up to Garo Marker of the Wolves or to stand up on the top shelf of fighting games. It's not enough, but, it's something. It's something. Metro Game Central with an 80 says, an excellent return to form for one of the most respected 2D fighters in the business that makes a solid impact despite some gimmicky guest characters. Atomics with the 80 saying Fatal Fury City of the Wolves is a decent fighting game that's sure to stir up the nostalgia of many, since, as mentioned at the beginning of the review, it's been 25 years since a new installment. 26, sir, 26. Spazio Games with a 78. SNK returns with a fighting game that stays true to its classic roots, while also attempting to take a step forward in a more modern direction seen in recent titles of the genre. I mean, I would definitely compare how Fatal Fury looks to when they did Double Dragon Neon back on the 360, which is funny now, because that was actually so long ago, I think. It's more time has passed since Double Dragon Neon to now than it was from Double Dragon 2 to Double Dragon Neon. Oh, I'm old. But also it's similar, art style to maybe when they went Streets of Rage 4. It's the same art style, but kind of colorified and brightened up. And Streets of Rage 4 was awesome. Alright, we got to get to the mixed reviews. There's only 4. No, wait, there's 5. 2, 3, 4. No, there's 4. 4 mixed reviews. But, luckily, they're only 70s. So nobody's sitting here giving this game like a 50. Now, the highs don't get higher than a 90. So that, to me, tells me some consistent reviews happening here. A consistent opinion. 70s your low, 90s your high, 80s you're dead on middle, and that's what the overall score is. I think that sits about right. I think that's what you should expect. So is that game worth your money? You'll have to decide. But let's read some of these more negative reviews. Push Square with a 70 says Fatal Fury City of the Wolves won't blow you away like Street Fighter 6 or Tekken 8. Well, look. Yeah, that's true. This game is not going to be better than Street Fighter 6 or Tekken 8. It just ain't. Those are the top of the line fighters. And this is not that. Gaming Bolt with a 70. Some parts of me pines for the good old days of the sprite-based visuals and old-school vibe. But as it stands, City of Wolves is a strong continuation of the franchise that will hopefully grow into its own with more support and polish. I do want to touch on this. So, people wanting sprite-based stuff. Sprite-based stuff is strictly for nostalgia. It doesn't actually look better than the modern look. It just doesn't. It's nostalgic feeling. I understand that the highest selling game of all time is Minecraft. But I'm telling you guys, we would have never advanced past the Super Nintendo if we weren't meant to. Alright? So this idea that sprite-based, they should have went sprite-based, maybe. But only if they were going to make the game really cheap, right? Maybe that would work. Maybe, oh, we'll sell this game for $20. But it looks like a Super Nintendo game. Maybe they would get away with that. Malditos Nerds with a 70. Saying, with a new installment after 26 years, Fatal Fury City of the Wolves is a great game for veterans of the genre. But newcomers will find it a tough wall to climb with little content tailored to them. Yeah, there's some content here. There's some other modes besides just versus mode and stuff. But I think this guy might be onto something. I do think this is more for people that have been clamoring for the series to return than for people who are newcomers. The budget was probably modest, and I do think they'll make a profit. I don't know if this is going to spawn more games, but we'll just have to wait and see. And guys, with that, that's the end of the video. Are you picking this game up? Let me know. And I will see you all later.